Ben, I was just talking about your amazing theater at Arcola, and just being quite honest about how I have experienced these energy challenges during, for instance, a festival. And I was just telling all our audience about two very bad ideas. I'm going to share one of them with you that we tested at this festival. It's called in Danish tissemøllen, and I'm sure you don't speak Danish. Do you speak Danish?
Alas,
not much. Okay. If you translate it, it's like the peeing mill. So you get all of the 40,000 audience to pee the same place, and then the mill would, and yeah, okay. I kind of read your face. It's not going to work now. Okay. It's an old idea, and it never worked, and it never actually got beyond sketching. So no worries. But please, Ben, please tell us a bit about Arcola Theatre and your story.
Grand. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to share a screen with you. We'll see if this works. So I have two laptops now, and share. So hopefully you can now see a slide, and maybe you can still see me talking to you.
I think it works.
I think it works. Brilliant. So yeah, hi guys. Because of the reflections, I've taken my glasses off, so I can't quite see properly. So we'll see how this goes. So yeah, I'm going to talk to you a bit about Arcola Theatre sustainability work, and as some of you might know, maybe not, we have a technology company, Arcola Energy, and so I was asked to talk a bit about the theatre and that relationship to energy. I guess it's a bit strange. So I have lots and lots of slides, lots of pictures. So I tend to talk quite quickly and jump through slides. So I'll just do that. I guess you can't interrupt me on Zoom. Normally I would say interrupt me if you want to, but I'll just go through all of this, and obviously there's some time for questions at the end. So I'll just, off we go. Let's see where we get to. So I can get this thing to work. Yes, there you go. So if you don't know, so Arcola Theatre is it's what we call off-West End theatre. So that means it's a relatively small theatre with not very much money that tries to do very good art. So I'm not involved in the art. The art is very good. It's down to Mehmet and Leila, the artistic team, for that. So if you like, in this context, we have a very good theatre, a relatively small, so it's about 200 seats and 100 seats studio theatre. So good art, small scale, not too much cash. So what can you do in that context? So if we're going to go back now, I'm going to go back through the kind of journey. So the idea probably started around 2006 and started to become real around 2007. So my background is in engineering, and I was kind of brought up to, I guess, make the world better, was the way that my parents brought me up. And being an engineer, I was very interested in environments and obviously climate change and air pollution, though more climate change going back now 13, 14 years. And the thing for me was, having worked in engineering and innovation, there's lots of people developing amazing new technologies and great new ideas, but the key is to get people to use them. So what we're talking about here is a cultural shift. And we use this word very casually all the time. We need to drive a culture shift. But actually, there's a little game we play, which is to say, if you want a cultural shift, then what you need is a cultural lever. So if you want to move something in culture, you need to use culture. So what we learned from science is telling people, these are the things you must do. It's very rational. If you inflate your tires, you will use 1% less fuel. If you insulate your house, you will use 10% less heating energy. They don't really do it. They don't care, they're busy, or they do care, but they're busy, or they haven't got money. So this concept of, if you like, using the arts to drive change. So this is not so much about the arts reducing its footprint, it's about the arts encouraging everybody else. But we basically do both. So then playing with words, if we think about why does art and sustainability go together? So if you like this, we played with this definition. If we think of art as about imagination and human futures, I guess there's one take on art, and sustainability, the word sustainable means that you can keep doing it for forever. And within Arcola, the art is very good, but it's also very much located in its community. So that community engagement is important, which we think of as social justice. So this idea that as an organization, We're interested in shifting towards a human future, which is worth living. That's the art bit. Possible for everyone. This is the kind of community social justice, and forever, which is the sustainability piece. So starting to think about the organization in this way. And going back, you know, this was 2006-07 when people were saying, well, you know, what's the arts got to do with sustainability? Why are you doing it? And so we used to talk about, well, we don't have to have this art versus science. You know, art and science going together, and there's obviously some nice historic examples of people doing that. So you can have the nice idea, and then you think, well, how do we actually join this together? So this is a little bit of a complicated picture, but effectively at the top, you've got the kind of leadership of the organization. We're used to seeing in arts organizations an artistic director, some kind of general manager, chief executive, producer. And then in the middle will be the programs, where that's the theatre shows, and then sitting underneath, making all of that possible, is the venue, the finance, the project management, marketing. So we said, well, if you look on this picture now, we have 3 blocks. So on the left is the professional theatre program, as you would expect. In the middle is the community program, that youth and community program. And on the right, we basically only really added one extra element. This is the sustainability, the energy program. And the idea there was to, in theatre, it's very collaborative. We bring visiting theatre companies into the theatre. Can we do the same with technology? So that right-hand box, can we bring in visiting sustainability companies? So I think I was very interested in was in engineering and technology, very often it takes a long time for innovation to happen. Change takes time. Whereas in theatre, we go from an idea to a fully staged show in all the national press within a matter of months. So how can we use the artistic mentality to drive faster change in sustainability? And I'm not going to go into this next section, but just obviously to make a really important point, we're not alone in doing this. So we kind of formally launched our program around 2007-08. And at that time, there was a big push within the UK in arts and sustainability organizations like Julie's Bicycle. The Mayor's Office, the London Mayor's Office was very active at that time. Under Mark Watts, who now runs the C40. So there was a lot of work going on. You can probably find this in the email, and I can send it to you. It just gives you a nice example. So within dance, theatre, visual art, film, music. So it's part of a much wider program of activity back then. And obviously you go from an idea to this bringing people together to actually making a plan. So in 2007, we launched Arcola Energy. So this is now a company. You know, if you were to Google Arcola Energy, you'll find an engineering company. But in the beginning, it was a project. It was a project born out of the theatre, just like we launched many different projects for older people, younger people, Polish people, opera, and so on. We launched a technology project. So why? I think going back to, so I'm just reading the note. That's not to me. So I'm just reading the note about. Sorry, so you know, why do we do this? So at this time it was around climate change, and it was saying, why would the arts engage with sustainability? It seems kind of crazy now that we accept that everybody should, but 13, 14 years ago, people were like, well, why? And the idea was, if we could get the arts to engage with climate change and sustainability in the way that they get the arts engaged with racism or homophobia, then we could actually start to drive change. And this funny one, the 4th point there, that theatre is a complementary art form to engineering. So you go from this creative idea, the artistic concept, or a scientific concept, and you take it through to delivery. So producing is like engineering. So what we tried to create then was actually to make our own building carbon neutral, was to create this technology incubator. So bringing in these visiting companies and these collaborations. And the other key part then was education and inspiration. So that's what can we do ourselves within the arts, and how can we use the arts with this added crazy bit of technology. And something that really worked for people was explaining how it goes together, to make it physical, to make it real. So this concept of a building in which in the basements we have the studios and we have the bar. Everything centers around the bar, of course. Beer is the thing that brings everything together, apart from the youth theatre, obviously, they drink lemonade. But that bringing it all together in one building, so that youth and community, the technology, the professional art, and of course, beer and lemonade. So within the carbon neutral Arcola model, there's that realization we don't have very much money. If you have infinite money, you can do many things. If you have limited money, you have to choose really carefully. So what are the things that we can do that ideally reduce our costs, that don't cost huge amounts of money? So at that point, we're looking to expand. There's a few slides on this in a moment, and refurbish. This we have full control of. We looked at biomass heating. This is something we can do, and it can save us money. Solar PV, although it's cheaper now, 10, 13 years ago, it was not cheap. And we said that we can't do so much of this. It's very logical, but it's very expensive. So not so much on the solar. And then the last part, which is obviously the strange piece, this is my background. So this innovation piece, but it was something that I guess every organization should do. Which are the bits that suit you? Which bits suit your existing plans? Don't try to do something that doesn't fit with your vision, with your role. Are you a fully commercial organization? Are you a community, local rooted organization? Do you have a building? Do you not have a building? Thinking about what's right for you, I think is key. We then went a bit further. I got an old friend of mine to put together a proper feasibility study. So this is a real engineering feasibility study. The most fun thing in here was if we could wrap our building in sheep's wool, that would be a very nice form of insulation. We haven't done that. But actually doing some proper technical work in the background. You don't need to do this. This to me, of course, as a technical person is interesting. There's many things you just do. You don't need a study. We just know that throwing away less rubbish is good. But it is quite useful to have some understanding of what matters. In the early days, for example, there was a theatre company, really lovely theatre company, very much committed to sustainability. And they decided that they would not use staples to fix their scripts together. So this is cute. But a staple is not a lot of money, a paper fastener. Yeah, drink one less can of Pepsi and use as many staples as you want. So there's something about understanding which things have an impact and which ones don't. So we don't spend too much time doing things that are essentially pointless. May I go on and jump onto a picture? So this technology incubator is very early days. In fact, the guy on the left, Ben, another Ben, is the guy that put together the feasibility study for us. And in fact, we now work with him within kind of technology and business. But again, this idea that, as always, it's about people, it's about bringing ideas together. And then, so jumping from the incubator, then back to education and inspiration. So I think, in a way, Arcola is a small organization. Our actual footprint is quite small. The bit that we can have the most impact in is actually this inspiration piece. I'm just going to check the messages in case anybody's messaging me. I don't think so. Oh, this laptop's broken. I'm on my old laptop. Never mind, I can't see. Somebody shout at me if you think I need to say anything. So yeah, the inspiration piece I think is really key as an arts organization. We don't have the same size of footprint as, for example, hotels or major industry, but we have a massive visual and communication footprint. So this is a big thing. And quite a fun thing, the first thing we did for the launch is we had some hydrogen-powered theatre. So this is this particular piece of technology. And this is a piece of technology that many people have worked on for many years. And the one that we put in the theatre became the best known because we put some art around the technology. So using that idea again of using the art to drive behavior change, to introduce people to things. I used to say people come to the theatre to be inspired, to be challenged, to think differently. So the theatre is a great place to put things that you want to get people to adopt or challenge or change. I'll skip over this quickly, but around this time, we also had to move building. So we spent a lot of work thinking about what does it mean to move Arcola. We had very limited time. Our landlord was kicking us out, classic London, turning it into flats. Very limited money, but we decided that green was a kind of key part of what we were going to do. And so you can start to drive everything on that basis. And again, it fitted really well with what we are, what Arcola is. So Arcola it's not a shiny organization. We're quite rough around the edges. And so being rough and recycling fits our brand very well. If you run a very perfect, beautiful, delicate dance company, having rough recycled things might not fit. So maybe you need to think about a different thing to do. So this is our old building. You can see how rough it was. This is the studio inside. This is another photographer's gallery, a building in London. which was being refurbished, and we took lots of volunteers, and we went and we took their floor, we took their doors, we took their toilets. And then it was around the financial crisis, so the banks were feeling very bad. So we had 1,000 bankers volunteer for us, and we got them to do all the demolition. So we did the demolition ourselves, which meant we could recover lots of the materials. Right down, we took out the floors, we excavated the basements. So all of this timber, the wood you can see, this was all reused to build the stairs. So by doing the work ourselves, we were able to build far more materials reuse and sustainable thinking into the building. And it's essentially necessary when you've got no money. So there's the bankers having fun. And this was a long, complicated project that I could talk about for many hours. Maybe I won't read through all of these, but this was, if you like, our kind of approach. And it was, we would say, if you're going to do sustainability like anything else, you have to do it the way that you do it. So the key thing for me was realizing that if we treat it like a theatre production, then it will happen. If I treat it like an operations task, it won't. Because theatre productions have to happen. And operations, people are always busy. There's always too many things they must do. They will never get round to doing things that are discretionary. So this idea of how to make it part of how we operate. And the result worked. And I guess this is the key. We had really good sustainability, but actually what really matters is that we created the thing the organization wanted. So the sustainability program was aligned with what the organization was supposed to be. And this is critical. So there's the new studio.
Oh, that's perfect, Ben, can I just ask you a question?
Sure.
It's a big. I had some technical issues here, but it's a bit back in your presentation. The idea of bringing in the bankers. It's fantastic. Who came up with that? Hello.
Yeah, the bankers was good fun. I mean, it was kind of necessary because we needed free labor, and also the bankers brought some money with them. They paid us £10 for every banker we took, and we bought them lunch for £2 and we kept 8. So it was very profitable.
But who came up with the idea? How do you think? Maybe 1,000 bankers would do.
Okay, off you go now. I can play in a minute. So where did the bankers come from?
Yeah, where did the idea of bringing in the bankers come from?
And in a way, it comes. So, if you're in a city, the corporate people always feel bad, of course, and they want to do something useful. So they will always volunteer to come and help you and so on. And often I don't find them very useful. There's that kind of arrogance that comes with corporate organizations. They think they know about business, therefore they know about theatre. And actually what they're really good at doing is spending lots of money. They're not really good at doing lots of things for little money. So, excuse me.
Then we live streaming.
The joys of work from home, huh?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I needed labor. They were free.
Okay, yeah, I follow that point, but I'm pretty sure that if I need labor, I wouldn't go to the bank.
Yeah.
In your sense.
Yeah, 2008 financial crisis, London. Yeah.
Yeah, people are feeling very, very bad. So why not? Okay.
Yeah,
thank you. I think this is a great example of how to be innovative in this sense, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't go to the bank asking for labor in this sense. So great.
Yeah, check. They do. They're very keen. But they started sending them by coach. They would send a whole coach full of people. It becomes quite difficult to manage in the end.
Oh my God! This is a movie. This is movie potential. Well, okay, yeah.
So then we managed to build the theatre. So then just maybe going back to the kind of that reaching out, that engaging people piece, and it's just a few pictures here. So again, using that theatre, that bar with the beer and the lemonade, lots of education work. The bottom right-hand picture there, that's at Latitude Festival. That's a big festival. So we powered the theatre tent at Latitude with hydrogen, which the powering it with hydrogen doesn't really matter. That's not the point. The point is, in order to do that, we had to move to LED. So this is going back again to kind of 2008, 9, 10, around that time, when LEDs were new technology. and actually driving that change in the industry to say, if you want pure white light, maybe you need to use tungsten. But most of the time you put a gel in front of it, so use LED. If it's going to be pink anyway, use a pink LED. Why use tungsten? And it was this kind of behavior change within the industry as well. Right, I don't know how we are for time. 5 minutes, great. I'm going to go really quickly then. So then this is just the energy bit. This doesn't really particularly matter. I guess very few people would do the same thing, but just to see kind of what happened, how it developed. So that kind of bottom left there, we developed the Arcola Energy as a project. In 2010, we made it into a company. In 2011, we started working with universities doing vehicles. 2014, we did a much more kind of sexy little car, really sustainability driven. The guy who makes that car, I actually met him at an arts conference. Into 2014, we started working on buses, continued our buses into 16, vans, and up to excavators in 2019. So this is kind of what the engineering looks like. In some way, it's the same as making theatre. You need to get people with the right skills, the right mentality, the right collaboration, never enough money, make stuff happen. And you know, we've managed to succeed. So we are in the process of putting buses on the road with our technology in. The dream will be one day you will be able to take an Arcola bus to the Arcola Theatre. I hope. We have a bit more work to do. And we'll continue. So this has turned into a company. This is in a way not really related directly to the theatre anymore, but actually the energy team really enjoy being part of the theatre team. There's this joining things together. It's not like Google saying, oh, we'll have foosball tables and beanbags. You know, my engineering team genuinely works in a creative environment, and it works, and they enjoy it. At some point, the energy company will make lots of money, and then it will fund the theatre, and I won't have to do funding applications anymore. This is my real dream. Flick through these. We went international. This is in Indonesia. A big education program, again, that learning from the theatre and the community work, pulling it into engineering so you can join it all together is where it all links back. And we were hoping to go and do Tokyo Olympics 2020. Maybe that will happen in 2021 now. I think that's the end of it. So there you go. That's my little journey over the last, whatever, 15 years.
Oh my God, it's amazing. It's amazing. Wow. So much input in so little time. Even with your amazing, beautiful little kid coming in, it's I love it. Ben, I'm sure we have a lot of questions from the attendees. I have just a few to start with, because the plan is that we upgrade attendees to panelists. If they want to, they can ask you face to face, and I'm sure people are dying to talk to you, or maybe yeah, I don't know. But first of all, Ben, please tell me a little. I was out in the beginning, so I didn't hear, but did you mention how you got into the theatre business as an engineer?
I accidentally I married into theatre.
Oh, so it's a love story.
Yeah, it's a love story.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Why else would you go into clean energy and theatre? Two really good ways to lose money. Still, yeah. Yeah, one day we'll make money. So I'm an engineer. It's an accident that I'm in theatre, and so it is. It's quite a strange setup that we have. And one of the challenges I think we've had is there's this sense, if we've managed to succeed in our way, how can other people be inspired by that? And obviously it's often quite difficult because not many theatres have engineers in. Which again, I think it's so important that we've learned from other organisations, and some other organisations can learn from us. You have to find a bit that suits you. Yeah.
Okay. Just one more question before we open up for questions from the attendees. I have to choose. Okay. Any of your projects doing these energy things, do they have some kind of behavioral side to it? Do people have to behave differently? Do you have to change the way you make theatre because of some of the energy projects? How does the whole how does this stick together? Can you use actually some of the new energy things as an innovator in the theatre as well? How do these things correlate? Is it just, you know, this is the arts, we're doing theater, this is the energy thing, we're doing energy, or how will it actually affect each other? Could you maybe elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, so I think quite early on we made a decision that we were not going to make theatre about sustainability, not unless people wanted to. If artists want to do it, and I hope that they do, and many do and did, but we're not going to specifically program sustainability. We're not going to compromise our artistic output because of sustainability, but we will change the way that we make theatre where it's suitable and where we can inspire people. And this seems to have worked well. So the simple, if you like, front of house, back of house things that you can change that have no real impact. So changing the suppliers of food and drink, moving to LED lighting, things that you just do. I mean, who cares? You know. And in fact, if you sell nice drinks, people buy more. The margins aren't always so good. Practical stuff. Probably the most fundamental change we did a few shows where we really challenged people to use very, very little power. And it's helped by, particularly in the old building, we had a very low ceiling. And it was the early days when the lighting manufacturers were trying to bring LED into theatre. And we used our theatre productions, if you like, a creative challenge. Could we get young, talented artistic directors, lighting designers, set designers to work within the constraint of, say, 5 kilowatts? So if those of you that know the power, in a theatre lighting rig, you may often have 100 kilowatts of lighting if you're running tungsten. And we say, okay, let's just get it down to 5. What can you do? So there's examples of that, but it wasn't a dictate. It wasn't you must. It was if you'd like to, we will work with you.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important point also for today at our place, that this is not a project about, from now on we're doing theatre about climate change, about sustainability, but we're trying to make the way we're doing theatre. Yeah, exactly what you said. So perfect. Now we need just to bring in Jesper, and he will be upgraded as a panelist, I think, and maybe is that right? He's gonna, okay. So Jesper, welcome on stage.
I think you're muted, Jesper.
Maybe you're muted, Jesper. Just 1 second.
Hey.
Hi. Well, thank you very much for your talk. I was thinking about energy consumption, and did you have any goals for the reduction that you wanted to make from the beginning on? And have you made any studies on theatre production in general, how much energy consumption there is that goes into the production?
Yeah, so let's say we set a how do you say? Let's say we set a target which is to be carbon neutral, but think of that as a kind of soft target. It's an idea, it's a concept. This is how far we want to go, but we didn't then fix very specific metrics. Beyond, I think we said we'd do 10 or 20% within 1 or 2 years, which in a way is actually quite easy, you know, if you're starting from a bad place. So what we looked at was, I'm less interested in the hard measurement in this case, and more interested in the direction. So for example, we said when we moved into the new building, we took on this derelict building, as you saw, it didn't have a gas connection. There was no gas, and I would have to spend 20,000 to get a gas connection. So I said, no gas. We have no gas. Yeah. If you want heat, you must burn wood. And the only wood you can burn is scrap wood. I don't want to buy wood. So we made relationships with local builders and construction companies to bring the scrap wood, and we then had to learn about chemicals on wood. And so we did that. We looked, and then of course we just switched to green electricity, like proper green, not greenwash, real green. So you could say that our heating and our electricity is 100% green. So for most organizations, this is big. This is the majority. We have no air conditioning. This was another decision we made, partly driven by poverty, partly driven by decision, the killer chiller, as we call them. So these are the really big impacts you can make. We did quite a lot of work on procurement, so food, drink, paper, stationery, which type of materials we use in the theatre. But these are very much, they were done quite organically. So often they'd be done by an individual company or by interns. And because our production budgets are so small, I didn't instigate fixed rules. So I used to talk about this idea, it's the vision rigor spectrum. So sometimes we're visionary and it's about the idea and the communication, and sometimes we're rigorous. And it will allow us to move up and down that spectrum whenever we want.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Ben, we have another question from outside. I'm just going to read this one out loud, I think. Yeah. Ben, you mentioned you work with Julie's Bicycle. What kind of collaborations do you have, and is Arcola still working with them?
So yeah, we worked with JB, Julie, and Alison and the team early days. What did we do? So I guess the key thing we did, so because Arcola is this kind of strange, crazy sustainability venue, we're just kind of used as an inspiration piece.
Yeah.
Some of Julie's Bicycle built some really good tools for kind of monitoring sustainability in art across lots of art forms. We used those a bit. We had some of our own as well. So I'd say probably the Julie's Bicycle collaboration for us really was, we were kind of peers and colleagues. Alison's a friend.
Okay.
I think that what the most important thing that Alison managed to do was to get the sustainability built into the requirements of the Arts Council funding agreements. You know,
okay.
So yeah, I'd encourage you to look at the JB work. It's really good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think, I assume that's why the question came, because in the end of today, we're going to present a tool very much inspired by Julie's Bicycle. So it's great that you already now say that they are some of the good guys.
Yeah,
all right, we have
very much so.
Yeah, okay. We have just the last question. I think we can before and it's from Morten. He says, could we hear a bit more about the sustainability measures of the Arcola building?
Yeah. Okay. So I talked about, buying green electricity costs you money, but it's simple to do. The Therminator, our wood burning boiler, you have to be very careful to buy one that's actually clean. So a smoke-free boiler, it limits your possibility quite a lot. No air conditioning. We put in a sort of passive ventilation system. It's an old building with a light well around the outside. The idea was to suck cold air from underground outside to cool the building. I ran out of money before it was really finished. So it's not very good. So at Arcola, in the winter, it's cold, and in the summer, it's hot. So this is not really an example of something you should aspire to. One day I'll have enough money to finish it. The other bit, I think the big piece was around in the construction project, it was around embodied carbon. So we reused bricks, we reused timber, reused basically everything as much as we possibly could. We didn't go into using carbon neutral concrete. I couldn't afford it. So I made decisions around what we'd do. On the roof, then we have some solar thermal, some solar PV, but not very much. Again, it's expensive. We could do more, but I just don't have cash. So then we're looking at how can we use that solar PV. So we have a DC microgrid. So these days it's a Tesla Powerwall. So this was kind of pre-Tesla. So it's back to kind of innovation projects. So using LED lighting. So these are the kind of, I guess, hardware measures. Then around sourcing, again, it's not hard, but we push as much as we can to source local, just to reduce miles. We do an audience survey to kind of encourage. We're in central London. We're on a good transport network. So travel is good. Yeah. Maybe.
Okay, perfect. Ben, I think that this is what we have time for. Thank you very much for joining us. And I hope, I'm glad. I hope to get to know you better and hear more about your story. I think it's very, very inspiring. And I hope that everybody feels the same.
Well, thanks for having me. I think it's great that you're doing this event, and I hope everybody has a really good day with it. I'm going to disappear, unfortunately. I have another meeting to go to. But
thank you. Say hi to your kid from Denmark.
I certainly will. Thank you.
Okay,
Take care, guys.